Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
And good morning and welcome to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Well, I'll tell you, we have nothing to complain about here.
Why?
It's 38 degrees and the wind's still blowing, I'm
assuming.
assuming.
It's blowing all right.
Yeah. Well, my daughter in Forsyth, Montana, looks like she sent me a picture. Looks like they got about 6 to 8 inches of snow.
Wow.
And 13 degrees.
Ooh.
So winter has hit. Now
Ooh.
they're having that big cold front moving down through the Midwest and through North Dakota, Montana, and such. So
we're not getting the worst of it at all. I mean, it's going down into Texas as well.
Yeah, it's dropped our temperature, but I mean, 38 degrees. I mean,
that's nothing what the other part of the country's getting. So yeah, we are lucky.
Yep.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, it was a busy weekend.
It was a very busy weekend.
Yes, it was.
I need a weekend from the weekend.
Did you go to the Harvest Time Festival?
I did. Twice.
I did too. I went.
Did you?
Yeah.
When did you go?
I went Saturday around noon.
I missed you then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went in the afternoon, then we went Sunday. We had my sister and brother-in-law up, and so Saturday we stopped in there, and I said to Susan, I go, you never know, you can find some holiday gifts, whatever. So she's like, I don't feel like buying anything. Next thing you know, like 3 or 4 things later, then she goes, well, I'll have to think about this. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow before they go back to Utah.
There were people everywhere.
There were.
They were parking everywhere.
Yeah, the parking seemed a little crazy, and but you know what? I bought a lot of holiday gifts, and it was nice, and you get it over with. And Tom, came Saturday or Sunday with me, and he's like, I don't know what to think. I go, but don't you have this Christmas thing and this Christmas? And he's like, yeah. So we got stuff for that.
Yeah, well, good.
And I like to support the local businesses.
Yeah,
I really do.
I was taking note. I kind of went there. I was invited by my daughter. So we went
that
there
was
with
nice, Tracy.
and the
was
two
it
grandsons.
Was it a formal invitation?
And I was just taking note as to how many local crafters there were as opposed to those who purchase Chinese imports.
Oh, I found I just saw a lot of local crafters. What did you find?
Well, some of them it's a little difficult to determine, but I found that there were not a lot of actual handmade crafters compared to the number of people who had booths, because a lot of them were these little stuff that, welcome, and these little signs and stuff. I mean, they were obviously imports as opposed to the one. I mean, there were some handmade knives there. The local crafters who were there, I mean, they did beautiful work.
Oh, yeah. We got some birdhouses, a hummingbird little thing, the ones out of the dishes.
Yeah. But if they'd have just taken out the local crafters and put them in their own little show, there might have been 12 or 15.
Oh, well, I think there was more than that, Kelly.
I was
a
little disappointed.
What was the point of that? Go and support them. They're still businesses. Everyone, you know what? Your sneakers are imported. My gosh, I think New Balance and Converse are the only ones that are made in the U.S.
Imported, I realize, but I always considered that to be like a handmade craft show.
Well,
and maybe it's
the ones I got was all
over the years.
handmade, that's for sure.
So,
Some ladies were knitting the stuff as you sat there. I'm like, okay.
And another thing,
what?
While I'm on a rant here.
Good gosh.
I needed a little part for my computer over the weekend, and I hunted all over town and couldn't find anything like it. Had to go online. So when a lot of business owners complain that people shop online instead of in their stores, there's sometimes a reason for that, because you cannot find many things locally. So even in the big box stores, when it's on their website, oh yeah, that's only available online.
Because someone, well, you know what? So what? It's still their company.
I don't think these big corporate stores, do they have local inventory control? I mean, can the manager say, hey, we could sell some of these if we had them, or does it all come from the corporate, and the corporate says, no, you can't sell those. We're not going to send you any of those.
Well,
there's not a big enough volume to worry about on those. We only want the stuff that you're going to sell 1,000 a day.
Well, I don't think that it goes with their market. I mean, you can go into an Ann Taylor in Boston or Dallas or Boise, and they have different inventory depending on the market. It's different. Different markets want different things, and so maybe that's not a high item out here, and it's a higher item somewhere else. But that's why they have marketing. They can determine what's sold everywhere, but the same clothes are not sold at, say, this Chico's. It's somewhere else. It's different. I mean, it could be higher end. It could be different
I'm just
styles.
Becoming a cranky old fuddy-duddy.
You're a curmudgeon.
I have that old-fashioned belief that if you go to the store, they should have what you want.
I'm sorry,
now, if they're sold out, that's one thing. But if they just never carry it, that's something else.
Yeah, but living out here, there's a lot of things I can't get that I could just walk into a store and get in Boston. So, a lot of food items, a lot of different things. So, I've gotten used to the fact that I just have to order stuff out of the area because they don't carry a lot of things that I use or buy.
Yeah, well, that's what I had to do. I had
so
to go
welcome
home and order
to my
it
world.
online.
Oh, finally, Kelly, it's affected
and
you.
then wait for 2.5 weeks for it to come from China
on a boat.
on a slow boat from China.
I know.
Used to be we say I sent it on a slow boat to China. Now everything's coming from China. So I don't know. Welcome to America 3.0. Anyway, coming up this morning. So it looks like we got us a caller here. Anyway, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, Kelly, I'm just wondering, did you crawl out of the wrong side of the bed this morning?
I know it. What's that all about?
I might have, by golly. I might have.
And then
this is my chance to rant,
And poor Tracy, it must have been a thrill to have him with her during the Harvest Festival. Do you imagine that one? Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for calling.
Thanks for stating the obvious.
Thanks for putting up with my rant.
Good gosh.
Okay, anyway. Okay, back where was it? Oh, we have Randy Stapilus coming up at 8:40.
We do.
We'll have another little kind of a wrap-up of the election. Some interesting things that have come out since then that we'll talk about with Randy. Then at 9:20, we have Chris Anderson from the CSI Harrod Center and Planetarium.
Always
we would have normally had him last Monday, but with the election and such the next day, we postponed him for a week.
It just wouldn't have been prudent to have him on when we could have had Senator Risch, who answered all of our questions.
So anyway, that's what's on the agenda for
life
today.
Yeah.
We also got a couple of things to talk about. Have you ever heard of the kissing bug disease?
No. Is this a joke?
No, it is not. And over 300,000 Americans are afflicted with it, and the bite from it is fatal, only it takes a while.
Really?
Yeah, they say it's like the next AIDS.
So it could be worse than Ebola.
Yes,
but we're in a panic over Ebola.
I know.
And the
we ought to be in a panic over the kissing bug disease.
Or the flu, or everything else that kills us. Or heart disease. That's a good one. Number one killer of all Americans. Heart disease.
And then, since the Democrats took a thrashing in the last election, there are a lot of Republicans dusting off their resumes to run for president. So we'll talk about that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour.
There you go.
So it should be interesting. Meanwhile, we do have some news for you this morning. The Maine nurse who defied quarantine attempts after treating patients in West Africa is looking forward to stepping out her front door like normal people.
And getting the heck out of Maine.
Well, Casey Hickok, she's not leaving Maine, but she is leaving that area apparently for a vacation. Casey Hickok's plans for the end of the deadly disease's 21-day incubation period, which is today, as a matter of fact, include a dinner out with her boyfriend, but she told the AP she's worried about what type of reception she'll get after being hailed by some and vilified by others after battling state-ordered quarantines in New Jersey and Maine. She said most people have been supportive, but others have been hateful, including a letter from one person who said he hoped she would catch Ebola and die.
How nice.
Yeah.
And then maybe she could spread it to all of Maine.
On Tuesday, tomorrow, Hickox will no longer require daily monitoring for symptoms, and even those who sought to isolate her agree that she will no longer be a threat.
She's never been a threat. I mean, she's had 2 negative Ebola things. She's not had symptoms. She's never had a symptom. My gosh, the hysteria on this is ridiculous. I think she actually said she's planning to move.
She has a point here. She said healthcare professionals like those at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, not politicians like New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and Maine Governor Paul LePage, should be in charge of making decisions that are grounded in science instead of fear. So,
Duh.
anyway, there you go.
Well, yeah, but I actually think she and her and this was interesting too, talking about the craziness. For now, she's considering her options as she looks for work. Her boyfriend, Ted Wilbur, contends he was told to stay away from the University of Maine at Fort Kent while she was in the news. He formally withdrew from the school Friday. This couple said they'd likely be leaving town soon. So, you know what? She's actually looking to get her doctorate degree and focusing on quarantine law. She might have some good... Don't put someone in a tent with no heat, no water, porta potty, but the finest takeout from Newark in New Jersey. Like, good gosh, that is just insane. And you know what? Adios, Maine for them. There you go.
The people at this is an interesting story. The people at Bell Harbor Manor were displaced after Superstorm Sandy's floodwaters surged through their quarters on New York City's Rockaway Peninsula. Now, the home's disabled, elderly, and mostly poor residents have a new headache. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has asked at least a dozen of them to pay back thousands of dollars in disaster aid. Robert Rosenberg is 61, was among the Bell Harbor Manor residents who recently got notices from FEMA informing them that they had retroactively been declared ineligible for aid checks that they received 2 years ago in the storm's immediate aftermath. The problem, the letter said, was that the money was supposed to have been spent on temporary housing, but that never happened because the residents were moved from one state-funded shelter to the other. FEMA gave Rosenberg until November 15th to send a refund check of $2,486 or file an appeal. We're on a fixed income. I don't have that kind of money, he said. He suffers from spinal disability and other chronic health problems. He said he spent the aid money long ago on food and clothing, both of which were in short supply after the storm. The demand letters are part of a broader FEMA effort to recover millions of dollars in aid payments that went to ineligible households. Apparently, the FEMA workers told them that they should apply for this help, and they asked them, they says, is this a loan? Does this have to be paid back? And they said, no, it's a gift from Obama. So, using
but you know
a phrase.
What's interesting...
But go ahead.
I was going to say what's even more interesting is Chris Christie has been, he's under investigation for holding back $800,000 in aid that he hasn't given out yet, and also spent it on buildings that weren't even affected by Sandy Hook. That's an investigation where money was going to his buddies and their projects.
The Hurricane Sandy, not Sandy Hook.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Sandy Hook is
too many
school
Sandys.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, too many Sandys. I think it was Newtown. Yeah, but anyway, so why don't you investigate him instead of taking from these poor people? Let them have the money.
I don't know.
Call it a day.
Interesting news today, and we'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. And the folks at Canyon Pond want you to stop by like we did.
We did.
Yep. And just browse around, see what they got in their nice, new, clean store. It's the newest pawn shop in town. It's probably the cleanest pawn shop in town also.
Well, that's the only one I went to, but it was pretty darn clean.
They keep it spick and span.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Hansen and the crew, they got lots of guns. They've got lots of camping stuff. They got lots of jewelry. They've got lots of watches. They've got, you name it. It's a pawn shop. That's what they have, pawn shop stuff. So stop by, say hi. They're at on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota, 3rd Avenue South, right there on the corner where Vickers Western Store used to be many years ago. And they'd love to see you come in. 7360300, Top Story. You are on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Yeah, I hope you got me something. No, I'm kidding.
I did.
Hey, Kelly, I was wondering if we could play on November 20th over there at the Turf Club. Can we play a song for you? We're practicing "Hit the Road Jack" by Ray Charles, would you like for us to sing it?
Sure, you come down there on the 20th, and you're going to miss the whole thing, buddy.
The party's been. That's mean. The party's been. You are so mean. The party's
He was
been.
mean.
The party's
What do you
been
mean?
moved to November 21st from 5 to 8. It's a Friday now as opposed to the 20th because the chamber actually wanted people to come to their business after hours. So, anyway.
Yeah. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. No.
All you have to do is say
just
one
for that-
song for Kelly and he'll start singing it. No one knows how much of a singer you are except me.
Just for that, I might stay.
Oh, good. I hope you do.
Yeah, I might just stay another 10 years.
I hope you do. You're like, oh no, why did I say that?
Oh, well.
You're like the horse to the barn at this point, let me tell you. Mm-hmm.
All right, a little bit ago, I was telling you about this kissing bug disease.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a serious issue. Over 300,000 Americans have already been infected with the potentially fatal kissing bug disease called, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, called Chagas, Chagas. But U.S. healthcare workers' lack of knowledge about the illness is letting a lot of cases of the parasite go unnoticed. Some doctors are calling it the new AIDS because of the way it develops. Researchers who gathered on Tuesday at the annual American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene meeting in New Orleans said that if caught early, the disease can be cured. However, sometimes the disease can be asymptomatic and there is a dearth in medication for the condition. The CDC reports that the initial symptoms of the disease caused by a parasite, and I won't even try to name the parasite, which is spread through the feces of kissing bugs, includes fever, fatigue, body aches, rash, diarrhea, and vomiting. Sounds just about like Ebola. One of the first visual signs can be a skin lesion or a purplish swelling of the lid of one eye. Did you wake up this morning with a swelled eye?
But how do you get it? I mean, the parasite's doing all this stuff. So what does it do? Embed in you? How do you get it? How do you get the little bug?
It actually didn't say. The disease can develop in the body, causing eventual heart failure and other deadly complications that by the time they are realized cannot be helped with medicine. Chagas is being called the new AIDS because of its asymptomatic beginnings that can turn to a fatal end if the disease progresses. But it's a little bug, it's an ugly bug, and it kind of looks like the box elder bug, only it's not as colorful.
I don't know what the box elder bug looks like, but I'm sure he's so attractive.
We have a lot of box elder bugs at my place because we have a box elder tree.
Oh, well, this is not a very good article because it doesn't tell you, just tells you how deadly it is, but you don't know how you get it, and you don't know.
Well, the CDC has said that they believe
anything.
Most of the people infected with Chagas got the parasite in Mexico or South America before coming to the U.S. The Food and Drug Administration has not yet approved two medicines that are currently used to treat. The CDC only makes the drugs available when no alternatives exist. So anyway, there you go.
Well, we were in Mexico last year.
Yeah.
How long's the incubation period?
It didn't say.
They told us nothing. Just be afraid. Be very afraid.
I kind of like the name of it, the kissing bug disease. I mean,
it makes you think you have to get it like kissing, but you don't.
Right. That's what I thought. But I have a feeling, and I wanted to have a little more time to research the Chagas or the kissing bug. But maybe they look like they're kissing all the time. Maybe that's why they call them the kissing bug. I don't know. But apparently they're kind of dangerous.
Okay, so there you go. One more thing
more thing to worry about.
To fear. 300,000 Americans already have it.
Yeah, and how many have Ebola?
I know. Yeah, a man died from Ebola who came to our country with Ebola. And there you go.
And that was about it.
That's it, people.
That was about it.
Anyway, and life goes on. So
it does.
Thank you, Kelly, for you are on a tear today. You've ranted, you've scared us.
I know.
What more can you do?
One more thing, how to live to your 120 years old. That's coming up next. So in as bad of a mood as I am today, why would I want to live to be 120?
I don't know, and I don't want to be in a studio with you when you do.
I know I've got at least one listener who doesn't want me to live past today. So, there we go.
Kelly.
We'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. And before we get back to telling you how you can live to be 120 years old, when the weather is right, it's important to take advantage of it. And the Certiset Solid Set system
Easy for you to say.
From Far More of Idaho, and we've been talking about this, allows you to water almost to blooming time in your alfalfa. When blooming time comes, you can start cutting immediately without the need to relocate miles of pipe. And you just simply place the pipe in the guides on your swather and start cutting. And as soon as the last bale is picked up, you can get right back to irrigating and get across your field quickly. This is the Certiset we've been talking about, and with our irrigation season now coming, which has come to a close, you have time to consider new ways to do this. Go to Far More of Idaho and tell them that you want to see more about this Certiset system.
That's right.
Okay? Because they can explain it to you.
They can.
324-3341 or at farmoreofidaho.com. And yeah, tell them that Kelly and Jill sent you.
Why not, huh?
Okay, so does anybody, first of all, show of hands, does anybody really want to live till they're 120 years old? That's the question.
Well, if you had good quality of life, but the problem is your friends are going to be long gone. Probably your kids might be too. So I don't know.
That is true.
That's
very true.
But if you're still productive and happy
Well, experts suggest that exercising more, eating healthily, and taking statins
oh, please.
is the key to slowing the aging process.
Oh, please.
So you sound like you don't agree with that.
I don't agree with the statin part.
What are statins?
It's for lower cholesterol, but then it affects your other parts of your body. But read on, my friend, read on.
Although a wonder pill is not in sight, making lifestyle changes such as cutting down on sugar, salt, and fat, and taking drugs that already exist might work, says the Longevity Science Panel. The group, which independently monitors evidence that explain changes in life expectancy and advises policymakers, found doing so took the average lifespan from 80 to 84. The What is Aging and How Do We Delay It report states that at present few people live to around 110. But by making these adjustments, they predict that the healthiest individuals could live to 120.
Well, you know what? There's plenty of people and plenty of populations that live a lot longer than we do who don't take statins, but eat healthy and are very physically active in their life, and they have those centers, those blue zones they call them, and you can do that without having to take statins. If you change your diet, you don't have to take statins. You can lower your cholesterol. Here's a news flash: just buy food. Wow.
It explains
Don't tell me it's sponsored by the company that makes statins, by Lipitor or something.
It explains that aging happens because of problems in cell division, an essential function which leads to growth, organ development, and the replacement of damaged cells. But it is errors that occur in this natural process that impacts on aging, according to the experts. Overeating is said to cause a rise in cell mutation because it speeds up cell division. When cells divide, they also shorten the protective caps called telomeres, and consequently, once they reach a certain size, they stop dividing entirely. So I don't know. I don't know, Joe.
What do you don't know about?
I don't know much about
There's so
these
much
statins.
you could do to improve your health just if you start to eat properly. My gosh, you could just do so much with food. Food is so amazing. What you eat today makes tomorrow's blood. Let's start eating better, people. Please. Please. You don't need drugs. You don't need this. Just start eating better.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Hello.
Kyle, how are you?
Your body is a machine, and just like a car or a computer or anything else, junk in, junk out.
It's true.
I mean, you put junk stuff in, you're going to be junk. You put good stuff in, you're going to be good. But I don't agree with the drug part.
I
Have
don't
you
either.
heard some of the side effects to drugs?
Oh, yeah.
Some of the side effects
I
are
love
worse than the
those.
problem itself.
Uncontrollable
here's the
like
funny
bowel
part.
movements. I mean, the stuff you hear during the news at night is hilarious,
The funny part is when you see or hear a 60-second ad for a drug, 15 seconds is dedicated to telling about it. The next 45 seconds
I
are
know.
telling the side effects that could happen.
Yeah, could cause internal bleeding, blindness,
Pregnancy.
uncontrollable diarrhea. I mean, like, who would want that? Just start eating whole
All
grains,
because
people.
I just want white teeth, I don't know. Anyway.
No, it's kind of funny. I actually listened. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would you take this drug with those side effects?
I agree.
Now you can eat better.
Every other ad on
I
TV
know.
anymore seems like it's an ad about a drug, some sort of a drug.
Well, you must be the demographic. Anyone who watches the evening news, they're all old people like us, and they sit there, and then we all have these drugs, and then you hear all the side effects.
Maybe we should get some of that, Margaret.
I don't think they're advertising that on MTV or something. So anyway.
We'll be right back with Randy Stapilus with the Idaho Political Update here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call always here on Top Story. And we have Randy Stapilus back with us for the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Seems like we just spoke to you.
Somewhat fewer days past.
Yeah, exactly. I think since the election, there have been, there's been some analyzing and such, so this will probably be our last analysis of the election from last Tuesday. But still, there are some things I think that are interesting that have come out. And you pointed out one of them in your update, the vote difference between Jim Risch and some of the more controversial Republicans in the state, such as Ibarra and Lawrence Denny. The difference in those votes with Republicans was like up around 68,000 votes, and that's significant, a significant split from an otherwise Republican ballot. So do you think, and you talked about how about that many Republicans split off and voted for somebody else. Was it, do you think Republicans are, I know a huge percentage of the voters in Idaho are independents. Was it Republicans, or do you think that could have been the independent vote?
Well, what I think you had in this election, and the number would go up in a presidential year. It'll probably go up again a little bit in 16. But what you had this time was somewhere around 280,000 voters who were essentially Republican voters who voted most of the time for the Republican going down the ballot, but about a quarter of those, or up to about a quarter of those, were willing to split off in certain cases where they saw races where there had been just simply a lot of controversy, or there were a lot of concerns raised. So there's always a tendency to look at groups, particularly if you're not part of the group, as kind of a monolith. Mm-hmm. And usually that's not the case. Usually there are any number of divisions within it. And certainly in this year, through the primary, we saw some of the divisions in the primary election within the Republican electorate, and this showed up some other kinds of divisions. There were those who voted most of the time Republican, the bulk of the time Republican, but were willing to split off here and there. And then there were others, about two-thirds to three-quarters of them, who were willing to vote just Republican all the way up and down the ballot. But did they do so for pretty much the same reason, or what was behind that? Part of the column that I did that I ran out today was asking those people who were down the line Republican voters why they did that, and asked them to send me an email. And a few people have done that, and I hope that a few more respond.
And what did they say, Randy?
Well, it's still, I'd kind of like to hold off on that until next week, because it's still pretty early. I'll be curious to see what the responses are like if a few more of them come in over the week to come. I think it'll be kind of interesting to see what sorts of responses there are, and what kind of thought processes, what kind of specific bottom lines the various people had.
Do you think
if they're similar or if they're different? What it was that they had to say.
Do you think people would admit, well, I didn't study the issues or the candidates, and so I just marked an R because I vote Republican? Do you think anyone would admit that?
Well, there's a problem there, because not very many people are going to say that.
Well, I know. So I mean, because no one wants to admit how how unprepared they are. But I mean, I've run into more hardcore Republicans who definitely split on that race along with a couple others, and people keep asking, like, who voted for her? Who voted for her? For Sherry Barra. I know we haven't named her specifically, but I mean, that's all I hear.
Yeah. Is they don't hear a lot of people who acknowledge that, and yet what you had was a couple 100,000, over a couple 100,000 people who did. About 217,000 people somewhere around the state did that, and because that kind of question gets asked a lot, and because, as one person did point out, a lot of the people who vote that way haven't been speaking out in quite the same way as the Ibarra critics have. We don't really have a good idea of what the motivation was behind those votes for her.
I think a lot of the motivation was just I think there was an anti-Democrat mood this year, and that proved out in the national elections as well. And I think a lot of people might have just done that as a protest vote. I don't care who she is or what she does or who her opponent is or what she knows or what she does. I'm not voting for a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there
may have been some of that.
I mean,
there's also less and less ticket splitting. It used to be the case 40 years ago that there was a real trend toward voters very much voting for the specific person in the specific race, splitting their tickets a lot. Idahoans did this a whole lot. In the first book I did, Paradox Politics, I kind of keyed off of the 1974 election when you had Democrats like Cecil Andrus and Frank Church on the one hand, and Republicans like Steve Sims and George Hanson all getting elected by the same group of voters.
Yeah.
Very, very different kinds of people, but the voters, for various kinds of reasons, split their tickets a lot. Now they don't do that nearly so much, and that's true. I know regionally, and I think nationally. That's I've looked at it pretty closely in Oregon and Washington, and more in all of these states, people tend to vote for just straight tickets or pretty close to it.
I know in Idaho, the Republicans have been criticized for that, and even at the power of the R. If you have an R behind your name, you're going to get elected. And last week I got an email from one of our local state legislators, which I thought was quite interesting. He pointed out, and he looked in the results from Blaine County, which is notoriously Democrat. And every one of the candidates in Blaine County, whether they won the election or not, they won in Blaine County. And so it's kind of like he was saying, and I have to agree, hey, it's not just the Republicans, the Democrats do it too.
Well, if you look broadly, you can find examples of that. There are districts in Boise now where Democrats are winning regular landslides. Legislative candidates are winning regular landslides, very much like the Republicans in a lot of the rest of the state. If you look in the city of Portland and look at the votes there, you will find a bunch of legislative districts in Portland, Oregon, where Republicans typically poll somewhere between 8 to 15%.
Yeah,
they're very much down the line Democrats, and Republicans generally, they can apply, but they're not going to get hired.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I think it can go both ways, but I think in this election, and I think what people are most upset about is that she was such a flawed candidate. Ibarra was, that it's just mind-boggling, and people, in that situation, when you see someone like that, and I'm sorry, when you see someone like Lawrence Denny or you see someone like Ron Crane, you have to scratch your head and say, oh, an R is more important than actually looking at what's best for Idaho. And I think that's what's really shocking people.
There is a certain percentage that does that. About a dozen years ago in Washington State, there was a candidate for state auditor that the Republicans had been looking for somebody to fill a spot to run against a fairly popular Democratic state auditor. and a guy came into the office at the last minute and filed, and they were delighted to get the spot filled, and then discovered a couple of days later that the guy was a true flake. He was, they hadn't realized it, but he was, this was a guy who'd been thrown into jail periodically and had all kinds of problems. And they tried to find ways to get him off the ballot. They told voters that look, we're sorry that this happened, but please don't vote for the guy. They tried to disown him pretty much every way they could. Nevertheless, he got about 40% of the vote.
Oh,
he got the heavily Republican parts of the state voted for him, and a number of counties voted in favor of him. This was a guy that the state party had tried to disown, but nevertheless,
I think the R or the D is more important in some situations, which I think is very frustrating for people.
For a significant number of people, yeah, it seems to be just a simple shorthand that enables you to avoid having to research the specifics of a race.
Well, I'm interested to hear your answers and how truthful they'll be.
I'm very interested, too.
Well, let's go back a ways into another time, back in 2008, when the anti-Republican mood was evident across the country. That was the year that President Obama was elected. Do you think if we'd have had the same candidates then that we had in this past election, that the results would have been different for the more controversial campaigns in Idaho, like Ibarra, Crane, and Denny, for instance?
I think they probably wouldn't have been that terribly different. If you look at the 2008 numbers in Idaho, they weren't the only really dramatic difference, and it was very close, was the election of Walt Minnick in the first district to Congress. That one was very close, and that was kind of an unusual case because the Republican incumbent then had kind of flamed out. But other than that, with that exception, 2008 wasn't really a very unusual year in Idaho.
Okay, interesting. So what about the constitutional amendment? I don't think a lot of people knew what that was. We turned it down, but do you think things are going to change very much because of that?
Well, I suppose the legislature could take it as a statement from voters that their heavy review of state administrative rules isn't something that the voters are very interested in their doing, and maybe they ease off of some of it. I'm not expecting that to happen, though. By and large, once Idaho legislators grab onto a piece of authority or an established way of doing things, they pretty much stick with it. And I would expect that to go on as it has been up to this point. They haven't, after all, needed, at least according to the state Supreme Court, they haven't needed constitutional authority to do it up to now.
I know what I heard from people, or a lot of people were skeptical about it. First of all, if they'd done it this whole time, fine. And then some people were thinking it was a preemptive move in case Belukov won, or something that would limit more of his control. I don't know. That's what I heard out there. People weren't trusting what that really was. What was behind the motive of that?
Yeah, I think at the time the legislature did that, they weren't even thinking particularly in those terms, and they had a long history behind them of just Republican administrations anyway. So I'm not sure that they were specifically thinking in those terms, when they did this back last winter. Nobody knew at that point, for example, how the primary campaign might come out.
Well, do you think it would have, if they had a Democratic governor at any time, that this would have curtailed some of his authority?
It might very well have, or at least I think they might have taken a little bit closer look at even a closer look at some of the rules than they have been lately. Mm-hmm. Although it was interesting to me that the really close legislative review of the rules started after Phil Batt was elected as governor, after the many years of Democratic gubernatorial administrations were over.
Yeah. Interesting point. We're out of time, Randy. I guess we'll see you next Monday.
We'll talk with you then.
Thanks,
All right, thank you very
Randy.
much. That's Randy Stapilus from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. You can hear him here weekly on Top Story. You can also subscribe to his newsletter at reidenbaugh.com. There are a lot of Republican presidential hopefuls dusting off their resumes after the shellacking that the Democrats took in the last election, and we'll talk about some of those coming up this next hour. Then at 9:20, we have Chris Anderson from CSI. Well, that must be us. Welcome back to Top Story. 736-0300 is always the number to call. And welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
It's still 38.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It's cold.
It is. A little on the chilly side.
I know,
and
and I'm
the
not
wind
ready.
blowing.
Well, Tom played golf yesterday. You know, he's like, you play golf one day, and then today it's just crazy weather.
Oh, well, yesterday afternoon, I went to my
beautiful.
daughter's for lunch, and I got out of the vehicle, and it was just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, man, this is weird. And then a couple hours later when I was leaving, you could tell it cooled off a
Oh,
little
it
bit.
did. It
So
did.
You could tell something was moving this way.
I wonder if we're going to get snow.
Well, today supposed to get up to 46.
No snow today.
Sunny and wind and no chance of rain.
Oh.
Sunny tomorrow and a high of 38. No chance of precipitation. 34 on Wednesday and sunny. No chance of precipitation. There is a 60% chance of precipitation on Thursday with a high of 35.
Mm.
And then it's really going to warm up. It's going to be a blistering 49 on Friday with a 40% chance of rain showers.
Ooh.
So there you
That's
go.
when we're going to have our little winter's lunch. I don't think we'll be sitting outside.
Doesn't sound like it, does
No, it doesn't, does it?
I know. We're going to talk about the Republicans who are dusting off their resumes to run for president. We got a call, though. Let's go ahead and take it. Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. This is Deli Mike. I just wanted to say that Marine Corps flag is flying at my house proudly for the 239th year.
Way to go, Deli
Amen,
Mike.
absolutely. Hey, are you going to the when is the Marine Corps banquet?
I don't know.
Are you going to the banquet?
Well, I think it's tonight, but I'm not going. I'm crippled. I can't really dance anymore.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Deli Mike, I think you probably have a lot of good moves. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in
Ohio.
the day.
That's right.
Back in Ohio.
That's right.
Back in Ohio. That's right.
Wait, what?
I owe you a call.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for the call.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the call. Yeah, that's cool. What, 200? And I forgot what anniversary it was that he said, but it's over 200 years anniversary of the U.S. Marine Corps.
That's right. Jugheads, jarheads, whatever they call
Absolutely.
them.
And our thanks to all who have served.
My husband.
And
a
tomorrow's
Marine.
Veterans Day.
I know it.
So, anyway, lots of activity now because there's a lot of folks wondering, what are the Republicans going to do in the upcoming presidential election? There's really no standout. Well, and as a matter of fact, there still
it's
isn't.
a little
But
premature.
not really.
Yes, it is.
Not really.
Oh, gosh.
Really? What about Hillary? Hell, she's been running for a year now.
She actually hasn't. She hasn't declared, but
wait a
my
minute.
gosh.
Oh, she
my
hasn't
God.
declared, but she's been running for
Wait.
president.
Oh, please.
What do you mean, oh, please? Come on.
You know, it's like you just get over the whole election season. You got to start up like what people are going to fundraise now for the presidential. But you know what? It'll be interesting because the Republicans actually have to govern first. That would be nice. Maybe they should think about what they're going to do now that they are in the majority.
I think they are, as a matter of
Oh,
fact.
I'm sure they are.
Now that they have gotten the edict from the people to get rid of the way things are
the
happening
edict of
now,
the people.
that's what it meant.
Yeah.
That's what it meant.
We should have the stock market drop and unemployment go up and gas prices go up and everything that's good right now.
736-0300, Top Story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kelly, you're right on. And as far as the subject of presidential candidates, the Republican Party needs to be careful and not allow too many candidates to spoil the broth.
I agree.
For example, Jeb Bush, I do not think should run. A lot of people are talking about Jeb Bush. I don't see where he has any real backing. And he's just going to take votes from a good candidate that will be trying to run.
Who would be your choice?
Who would you think?
Who would be your choice?
Rand Paul for president and Ted Cruz for vice president.
All right. Thank you very much. That's an interesting pair.
Do you have to be an American citizen or born in the U.S. to be a vice president, or is that just president?
I think you do, because in case you were to become president,
That's
so
true.
that may not work.
He was born in Canada.
7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And here to see you're getting more enjoyable today, Kelly.
I know. He had a rough start, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, Jill, you'll probably get mad at this.
Oh, come on. Make me happy.
Okay, the election's over. What the Republicans do, just live with it.
Hey.
We won the election.
I have to. Just like you guys have all lived with it so well, having President Obama in. You're such an example. Such an example of how well everyone's lived with President Obama.
I think we've endured pretty well, don't you, caller?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Who would you vote for in 2016?
It would have to be either Keith Johnson, maybe Ted Cruz.
Okay.
Those ones I'd like to see in there.
Who's Keith Johnson?
He's a conservative.
From what state, or is he in office now, or is he just what does he do?
No, he's not. He's a talk show host and does a lot of Bible studying.
Okay.
So he'd appeal to the masses, huh?
Yes.
All right. Thanks for that. Thanks for the call. Interesting. I hadn't heard that name before.
No, I hadn't either.
More than a dozen Republican governors and senators are rushing to line up supporters, pour over policies, and map out strategies for the 2016 presidential campaign, concluding that last week's midterm rout of Democrats shows that the GOP has a strong chance of taking back the White House. Whereas Democrats are rapidly coalescing around Hillary Clinton as their standard bearer, there is no heir apparent on the Republican side. The field is as splintered as the grand old party itself, with stark differences along the lines of ideology, style, and background. This article from the Washington Post, by the way.
Well, I don't think Jeb Bush. I mean, first, so many reasons. A, his name's Bush. B, he's married to a Mexican woman, and his stance on immigration, which they all think is going to be problematic. So even though as much as they say they want immigration passed, I don't think they do, and I think that will hurt him.
Well, let's take this call, and then we'll get into some of the ones who are indicating interest. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I wonder what the election, or how the election would turn out. I think I read it to R's and the D's. I generally vote conservative, but with this Janet Jones and that other lady election, I'm pretty much upset because my kids are in the schools and the Common Core needs to be revamped in a way, but Ibarra has no clue what she's doing. So
I know. That one's really disappointing. That's disappointing. I've heard that from so many people.
Yeah, I have too. I have too, and I agree with that. I think the two-party system is fairly important to our way of government and such, but it would be interesting to see what would happen. I mean, we do it with a city council. We don't have parties with city council.
No, but a lot of them make it known what party they are, and some jobs shouldn't be partisan at all. But it would be interesting to see what the results would have been if there were no R's or D's.
Yeah, here's some of the hopefuls. Texas Governor Rick Perry is inviting policy heavyweights, financiers, and grassroots activists to Austin for private consultations in December, his final full month in office, so he's one. Senator Rand Paul has summoned his advisors, donors, and supporters to Washington this week for strategy meetings. Senator Ted Cruz is preparing to push a hardline conservative agenda on Capitol Hill beginning this week in the Senate's lame duck session. And again, there's a question as to if he could even run or not, being born in Canada,
because that was the big birther argument against Obama, that he wasn't born in the U.S., so he wasn't legitimate to be a president. But Canada is not the U.S., people. It's another country.
Ohio Governor John Kasich established himself as a serious contender after he easily won re-election in the quadrennial swing state, as did Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, whose commanding win, his third in 4 years, strengthened his claim to top-tier status. A likely rival to Kasich and Walker, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie campaigned as chairman of the Republican Governors Association for fellow governors in 23 states over the last 2 months and is basking in the glow of unexpected blue state victories, although Christie mostly has rebounded politically from the bridge-related scandal a year ago. His temperament remains a source of concern within the party elite. He recently told a man who was interrupting his speech to sit down and shut up.
Yeah, just what you want your president to say. But Christie
he did
also
get a round of applause after that, though, I do have to say.
Yeah, right. That's how I'd want my president to speak. But he also still, the Bridgegate thing is not done yet, along with other investigations, like we said, about the money for the relief aid, and also another thing with investing the pension fund into things that should not have been appropriate. So if he ever survives the scandal.
The closest thing to the GOP has to a frontrunner is former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who has been conferring privately with his family about a run. Let's see. The GOP's 2012 vice presidential nominee, Representative Paul Ryan, enjoys broad national recognition, but says he will take his time weighing whether to seek the top job. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee and former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, two past winners of the Iowa caucuses, are well liked by evangelicals and could run again. Other hopefuls, including Senator Rob Portman of Ohio and Indiana Governor Mike Pence, want to watch how the field takes shape before throwing their hats into the ring. The race could draw at least one non-politician. Ben Carson, a pediatric neurosurgeon with a fervent following among conservative activists, is leaning into a run by airing a paid one-hour film Sunday tracing his life story. So there you go. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Jill, did you hear the other day where Michelle slipped in an interview and said that Obama is, in fact, from Kenya?
Oh, please. I don't believe it, and I don't believe the interview, and I'm sorry. I don't think that's true.
I didn't even hear that.
I know. We didn't hear it. Where was that aired? On Alex Jones? Where was this aired? I mean, my gosh, this is just ridiculous. But then if that's the case, don't be voting for Ted Cruz because he's born in Canada.
7360300, top story. You're on the air.
Hey, for all these conservatives that are coming out of the woodwork, I'm going to suggest the name of Madam President Elizabeth Warren. She's going to beat the crap out of the conservatives. Watch that.
She says she's not interested in running, but, you know, it'd be awesome to have a Clinton Warren ticket. There you go.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Why? They've had men forever.
That would spell certain.
Men forever.
Oh, yeah.
Why not have women?
That's another thing. You know,
oh, yeah, we should not have any.
If we could elect somebody to fix all the problems in America, I wouldn't care if it was a man, a woman, what color they were. I wouldn't care. But so many, it's got to be a woman. It just has to be a woman, regardless of whether or not they are the best
Hillary
candidate.
is more
it just
qualified
has to be a woman.
than anyone in this country to be president.
But you were talking about Elizabeth Warren.
I said she didn't say she's going to be running, but if she did, if she was VP, awesome.
Well, anyway, that's the cast of folks so far in the Republican Party, and we'll be right back. We have Chris Anderson next with the CSI Herod Center update. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back, and the word of the day is brought to you today by the folks at the Happy Landing Restaurant, where I eat all the time.
Usually on Thursdays.
Yep, and if you are a first-time visitor and you purchase a drink or even a meal, and tell them you heard about it right here with Kelly and Jill or on KLIX, they'll give you a free piece of pie. Homemade
free pie.
Pie.
If this isn't a Kelly promotion, I don't know what is.
And
free pie.
Unfortunately, I don't qualify.
No.
I have to pay for the pie.
You probably said this sounds... Did you have pie last time you went?
No, I had carrot cake.
Okay.
Actually.
Was it good?
It was delicious.
Okay.
They have the best carrot cake around. And it's not from someplace.
They actually make it.
They make this stuff.
Okay, good.
So, Happy Landing Restaurant at the Twin Falls Airport. Friday's $100 instant winning name is Charles Chapin.
Charles Chapin, congratulations.
Almost said Charlie Chaplin. That's
sounds
pretty close. And the $100 word of the day for today is dog.
Dog.
D-O-G.
Dog.
Go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on Word of the Day. Type in dog. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, $100 will be coming your way.
Which reminds me, it's cold out there. Put your dogs inside. Have them some shelter.
Yeah.
It is cold. The wind is cold.
Ours will run out, and if we're lucky, they'll do their thing, and then they come right back, and then their paws are up on the
Mommy
door.
And Daddy.
Mommy, Daddy, I want in. I
know. I know.
Okay, well, it's time for... We have Chris Anderson with us from the CSI Herod Center and Planetarium. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
We had to postpone you last week because of the election the next day, and now I'm kind of glad we did, because now we have you now.
And now November's a third of the way gone already. Can you believe it? Holy cow.
Such a killjoy.
I did plug the Star Party for you.
Excellent. Well, we had a great turnout, so maybe
that's what it
there it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Anything mentioned our show is golden. That's great. So a lot of people did come out.
Yeah, I think we had 64 was the
No,
count?
sir.
Yeah.
Is that a record high?
Oh no, not ever, nowhere close.
What's the record high?
Oh, when the weather's good, we can have a couple hundred. I mean,
you're kidding.
But it's when it gets cold like this, people don't want to do it. But hey, it's
bundle up, people.
Some of the no kidding. Well, not only that, but wintertime you often get some of the clearest skies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know sometimes I walk out in the morning to come to work, and it's early and the stars are still up, and on a cold, crisp morning with a little bit of a breeze.
Yep.
Every time I just look up and I literally say, "Wow."
Yep.
It's just
and early risers nowadays, if you've been looking over toward the east. On those clear mornings, there's a really bright object low in the east, and that's Mercury. And this is actually Mercury's best appearance in the morning anyway for this year. So
I'll have to pay attention.
How early?
6:30, 6 o'clock, right around in there.
So 5 o'clock, it wouldn't be up yet.
Wouldn't be up yet. Yep.
Okay.
That's why I've missed it.
So.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So what's going on?
We have tons going on. Of course, you already mentioned the Star Party for November, so the next one of those will be in December, but I'll be back between now and then, so we don't have to talk about that one today. But we do have our Telescope Tuesdays that are starting up now that the accursed daylight saving has gone away. However, since those are normally held on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, tomorrow is the second Tuesday. It's also Veterans Day, so we will be closed. So our first Telescope Tuesday won't be until the 25th. But those are, for those who are not familiar, Telescope Tuesday is like a Star Party, like we do on the second Saturday nights, but it isn't free. And I know that sounds, but it's $1.50.
Please.
And if you come to
Why don't you round it up to $2 so you don't have to have quarters for change? Jeez.
Well, and to be honest, it used to be at $1, so
inflation.
We didn't want to double the price. But
the inflation is just horrible.
But if you come to a planetarium show, it's free, so you can't beat that. But honestly, one of the crazy things is even though we're only charging $1.50, which is you can find that between the sofa cushions. That's enough to keep the people who will only show up for free events away.
You're kidding.
At which point you get a lot more time at the eyepiece. That's all there is to it. I mean, you get to see a lot more things. I mean, Saturday night we had, like I say, over 60 people, and sometimes the lines were a little long for the eyepieces. So
wow.
So yeah,
that's
definitely
great.
has an advantage. Other things going on. Just to remind people that the museum is closed tomorrow because of Veterans Day. But then we've got Mingle in the Jungle. Of course, our reptile review will be not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow on the 18th. We've got the Herritt Forum lecture coming up by Ted Dyer. It's about both Ernest Hemingway and Ezra Pound, of course, two local characters, local celebrities there, if you will. And that'll be on the 19th at 7:30. That's free. We've got an astronomy talk coming up the day after that on Thursday the 20th, and that's all about supernovae, the most violent way a star can die, and that'll be in the planetarium using some of the technology.
How dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
Was it suicide, drugs and alcohol? What is it?
It's better to burn out than fade away. So they run out of fuel, they become unstable, and
it's done.
Well,
so out of here.
It's been argued that stars that go supernova are kind of like rock stars. They live fast, they die young, and they leave a pretty corpse. Namely, they leave these beautiful nebulae in the sky.
Oh, there you go.
That's interesting. Yeah,
you should be naming them after the rock stars. There's the Jim Morrison.
We're gonna take a break. We have Chris Anderson from the CSI Herod Center and Planetarium, and we'll be right back on Top Story. 736-0300, the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We'll get back to Chris Anderson with the CSI Herod Center and Planetarium in just a moment, but I have a very, very serious message for you folks. The folks at Stanley and Company want you to know that not everyone may be in the market for a low and honey loader. and they understand that. Not everybody has thousands of livestock on their place. But for those of you who do, the Lowen Honey Loader may be something for you to consider from Stanley and Company. And if you want to see one of these in operation, you can go to YouTube if you want. But if I were you, I'd call Pat Hartzell at 280-1167 and say, Pat, can you fix it up so I can see one of these up close and personal on one of the dairies or feedlots around here so I can ask questions? And he'll say absolutely he can do that. And his number again is 280-1167. Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company and the Lowen Honey Loader. Could be an addition to your operation very, very soon. All right, so Chris Anderson. Okay, so
that's a tough act to follow.
It is, I know.
It is.
I know, but do your best.
I think there's some honey in there.
I'm just guessing, but I think you can come up with some.
So I was going to say, we were talking about the astronomy talk on not this coming Thursday, but a week from Thursday, and I don't think I mentioned the start time. It starts at 6:30. We do those. We pick the date to be when there's a dark of the moon, so we get good observing afterwards. Okay. So the talk itself starts at 6:30, goes for about an hour, and then the observing will be for 2 hours from 7:30 to 9:30, weather permitting, of course.
What do you do in the talks?
So it used to be it was just your standard kind of PowerPoint in our Rick Allen room, but since we got the new planetarium, now it's actually in the planetarium theater, and we use that technology as much as possible. So at the very basic, it is a PowerPoint presentation in that I can put it up, but I can put the slides and the stuff anywhere up on the dome I want. I can put up a starry sky behind it. I can show, little astronomical clips and videos and things like that.
And comfy seats.
And very comfy seats too, as well. Yeah.
So that do you have to wake up the audience?
Yeah, I have to be that much more scintillating to keep them awake. See, so. And then also want to let you know, believe it or not, holiday season's almost here, right?
Oh, for gosh sakes!
I know,
what?
And now we are not like the people who are all starting Christmas the day after Halloween. We are waiting until the day after Thanksgiving. So
you're having a Black Friday sale too?
Well, actually, we are. We're not calling it a Black Friday sale.
What are you calling it? A Cosmic Friday?
Holiday sale. Yeah, our store is having their holiday sale, which they always do. 10% off most items. I think the only exclusions are the Meade telescopes. But other than that, we have 3 holiday programs coming into the Faulkner Planetarium. Now, one is returning from last year, Let It Snow, which is the music and entertainment show, lots of musical visuals and variety of different artists, classic tunes. But we also have a Star of Bethlehem show coming this year, which we have not had in the past. We've had shows about the Star of Bethlehem, but not this particular show. And then we also have one I'm really excited about called The Longest Night, A Winter's Tale. And this is a show that is not specifically a Christmas show. It's actually more of a winter seasonal show. But it's done by this this troupe that does. They call themselves a puppet troupe, but really they're actors in full body costumes, including the face from head to toe. And they do some shadow puppetry as well. But it's all done with computer graphic environments for the characters to be in that wrap around you as the audience as well. So you're there with them as this tale is being told, and it's sort of a folk tale, but it's a modernly written but seemingly ancient folk tale about the origin, about what brings the winter on, and this is sort of a hero quest, and it's really extremely well done. You can tell this puppet company has been doing this for a long time, and they're really quite good at what they do. And it's the music is very good, the narration is very good, and it's actually going to run not just through Christmas and through the New Year. It's actually going to run into February.
So it's
as well.
about like winter.
Yeah, like I say, it's kind of a folk tale sort of thing. It's a little girl who has to go and confront a dragon that's responsible for the winter time being here and needs to confront the dragon in order to bring on the springtime. And it's like I say, it has very much a hero quest kind of nature to it. But it's really well done. And I think people are going to really enjoy it. So that'll start the day after Thanksgiving, along with Let It Snow and the Star Bethlehem show, and those will run through the holiday season. And we will have extra show times as well on Friday. So here's your game plan, right? While mom and dad are off playing Santa, grandma or grandpa can take the kids over to the planetarium, right? Well, because it's day off from school, right? So they got to have something to do, and you don't want them following along when you're off playing Santa, right? So
what are the times of the shows, and how long is the show?
Most of these shows run 30 to 45 minutes. It depends on which particular show it is, but there's going to be a bunch of extra show times, more than I could list here. So best thing to do is go to the Herritt Center's webpage. You can also follow us on Facebook, for that matter.
What are the admission prices?
$6 for adults, $5 for seniors, $4 for students. So,
what about for little munchkins? They're $4?
I think it's kids under... you're going to catch me on one here.
Good. Finally, yes. Thank you.
I think it's for kids under 4, it's free. I don't remember.
Otherwise, what price are they?
They'd be considered students.
It'll be on the website, though, right?
Yeah, definitely on the website. And you can call our information line 732-6655. So.
Well, speaking of the holiday season and such, our sister station, Cool 96.5, has gone now to all Christmas music.
Oh, no. It
Till
started
Christmas.
already?
It started
Today?
already. And our program director and announcer, Nate Bird, has donned his bulletproof vest, and so he's all ready. He's ready for it.
He said he would play one Hanukkah song for me
There you go.
out of the 7,000.
We'll be right
Adam
back.
Sandler.
7360300, always the number to call. We have Chris Anderson with us from the CSI Herod Center and Planetarium, and Clearwater Power Equipment still has Echo and Husqvarna chainsaws and leaf blowers, and every time I drive by there, it seems like there's more out front. I saw a snow blower and little lawnmowers, big lawnmowers. I saw a hydraulic log splitter. I mean, this is the place. If you're kind of that outdoorsy type person, this is the place. And if you're cutting your winter firewood,
Chainsaw?
which today should be a wake-up call if you don't have it already, they've got chainsaws for you. If you don't have your leaves all raked up, and nobody uses a rake anymore, everybody uses a leaf blower. You can get them at Clearwater Power Equipment. They're at 252 Washington Street. 734-7767 is the number. And stop in and tell them that Kelly and Jill sent you, and you need to look at some of their stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't rake leaves anymore with a rake if I were you. I'd get the leaf blowers from Clearwater Power Equipment. Or on days like this, you can just kind of go out and fluff them up, and they'll blow over to the neighbors, and you won't have to worry.
That's my strategy.
Yeah, exactly. The problem of it is if your neighbor to the west does the same thing, then you wind up getting theirs. So, Anyway, Chris Anderson, what else we got going on?
Well, a couple things I wanted to mention. Our art gallery at the museum is currently closed while we install our next exhibit, which will be bronze sculptures by Joe Castle. You may be familiar with Joe Castle's work if you've been to the museum recently. Those 3 sculptures that are right out in front there. They're sort of they're rather, I don't know, dramatic sculptures. They're kind of these creatures that are part skeleton, part animal, part So there's going to have those and some others displayed in the art gallery starting on the 18th, and there'll be an opening reception that night, free opening reception that night at 7:00. In the meantime, for those who are just starved for art when you come to the Herod Center, we do have our little Hall of Friends there. When you first walk in the door, you take an immediate right, and we've got some landscape paintings by Olaf Muller. This is from the Hayburn collection. And those who are familiar with the Hayburn collection, this is a whole collection of beautiful artwork, mostly oils, collected from around the Magic Valley. Some of them were hanging in schools for many years, and they're now all in the possession of the Herod Center. And so we have had full exhibits of them, but this is just an opportunity to see a few of them. And a couple of these are of the Tetons, and they're just gorgeous, really, really pretty things. So only a few of them, but come check them out. We've got those on display for a little while. And then finally, another thing to consider on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and the following day is Saturday, we're having our Primitive Skills for Kids classes. Now, we've had our Primitive Skills class. Oh, absolutely. These are walk-in classes, no reservations needed. And great things because you can make a little sort of a finger-woven small purse in the Native American style. You can also make some split twig figurines, little deer and animals and things like that. And then those are lots of fun. And those actually can be made into a Christmas ornament. It looks nice on the tree too. So and free admission for that. You can't beat it.
And that's the day after Thanksgiving. So
and the day after that.
What time is it?
Well, the museum opens at 9:30 on that day. To be honest, I don't remember exactly what time the classes go.
Wow, stumped him twice.
But again, on the webpage, you can go find it there.
Drop off the little munchkins on your way to the mall. There you go.
Well, and another really good way to keep up on these things is to follow us on Facebook, because we're always posting those things, when they come up, and people can keep track of us that way. So.
And if not, what's the number again to call for information?
For the museum, 732-6655. For the observatory and for things in the sky, 732-MOON. That one's really easy to remember. So.
732-MOON. But if so, they could find out information about the primitive skills for kids.
Yep, all on there.
So they got the weaving thing. Anything else?
I think that's it. That's basically it.
Do we have any more eclipses coming up soon?
The next one we have here in Idaho won't be until the springtime. It'll be another lunar eclipse. It is going to be in the wee tiny hours of the morning. It's going to be a much shorter eclipse than this one we just had. Literally, the totality will last like 5 minutes. So the moon is just barely going to dip into the Earth's umbral shadow before it comes right back out.
How much of the
again,
totality will we see?
Oh, we'll see the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually, we won't see the entire eclipse, but we will see all of totality.
So how was the last one? We were flying that night.
It was good. It was, we had kind of thin clouds on and off, so we didn't get to see the whole thing uninterrupted, but we got to see the majority of it, and there was a kind of a nice break right around totality. So it wasn't a total washout, but we did, we kind of did a little bit of cloud dodging on that.
Did you sell a lot of $2 glasses?
Oh, for the solar eclipse.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I think we sold most of them in advance. We didn't sell a lot the day of.
Yeah.
But we sold a lot more in advance.
Way to go.
Yeah. So.
Do you have capabilities with the telescope there to take pictures?
Absolutely. In fact, if you go to our webpage on the observatory, you can find our images page, and we show just a few examples of some of the photos that we've taken in the past. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. So you can take dark pictures of all the stuff out in space.
Oh yeah, we've got pictures of nebulae, one of a nebula of a couple nebulae, galaxies, a comet. Even one of my favorites. It's a little subtle, but it's a star called Barnard's star that is relatively close and moving fast enough that you can literally see its motion against the background of more distant stars from year to year. So every year in August, we take another picture of it and add it to this little animation, so you see it tracking across the star field. So, actually, to be honest, I'm a little behind. I need to add the last couple of years worth of images in there, but you can definitely see it moving. I think we started in 2009, and you can see it sort of zipping along. So,
do we have any asteroids that are about to hit us or anything?
Yeah, should we be ducking or anything?
Not at the moment. There is this list of the so-called potentially hazardous asteroids, the PHAs, and there's about, last I checked, around 900 on that list. But they rate them according to their imminent danger, and none of them are at the highest level right now. So there are really none that we know.
So we can go outside today without fear.
Absolutely.
All right. Chris Anderson from the CSI Earth Center in Planet Gem. It's always fun. Thank you very much. And it's time now for the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. Now, I must say, we are planning on the winner's lunch coming up this Friday.
That's right.
The free lunch with at the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center with you and me, and our winner, Jim Winsveen, and his brother, Bruce. Yeah.
And his brother, Frank.
And that's right. His
the
brother,
limo
Frank.
driver's Bruce.
That's right. The limo driver. I get them all confused.
I know.
But anyway, it'll be a ride in the limo from here to there and back again, and that's always
there to here,
fun.
And then lunch.
Yes.
And
we're still having for November now, so you can go to our website, click on newsradio1310.com, click on Win Lunch with Kelly and Jill, and put in for it to be hopefully the winner of the November.
Could be the last lunch with Kelly Class, so you better enter, and you can have lunch with Kelly Class, the big draw. This one's going to be a big one. Everyone wants to have lunch with Kelly Class. Everyone
I think it's you, Jill. I think everybody wants to have lunch with
I don't
Jill.
think so. When they have lunch with me, they pack, So anyway, I think lunch with you, yes.
I don't think
Kyle,
so.
You know who you are. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah. No, definitely. So they have till November 30th to enter, and you can enter multiple times. You can win more entries with the games we have, the word of the day. Let's see how bad you want to have lunch with the final lunch with Kelly Class.
Yeah, and with Christmas coming up and such, I know you have a lot of telescopes at the Herod Center.
Oh yeah, in fact, we just got a couple new telescopes in. Great for Christmas. So,
What's the price range of those?
They start at $29, I believe, and go up to $1,400. So
really,
yeah. And to be honest, we don't carry a lot of models in the store, but we can order anything from Mead. And if you're worried about whether it's going to be there in time for Christmas, we can tell you that in advance whether it's something you could get in time. So
okay, and do they all have now? Are they pretty much all coming out with the automatic finder on them?
The ones we carry all do, but we can order ones that don't. If you still want to do the old school and save yourself a little money too, if you want to go find the targets yourself, that's certainly an option as well.
Of course, you could have one that had that and just not use it if
that's
you wanted
true
to,
too.
And use it when you did.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
A lot of the dyed in the wool people think that's a cop out, that you got to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Well, it's a question of is it about the hunt or the actual kill, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
And on that happy note, tomorrow we'll have Steve Millington and Rob Morris about Buzz the dog.
Buzz the police dog. Yes, it's going to be an interesting story, and we want you to hear it. That's all coming up tomorrow here on Top Story. Have a great day, and we'll see you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal. Bye, Chris.
Bye.